to the Equestrian Experience, a show we talk about what happens behind the rosettes and what we've tried so you don't have to. In a world first, we and our guests will be openly sharing what we know from our extensive equestrian experience. This includes our exclusive access to global experts such as high-performance national vets, coaches, farriers, and even brands. If you're new here, consider subscribing. We're your hosts, Bex Mason and Amanda Ross, and today we're talking to one of my good friends who takes a number of my beautiful photos that you may have seen on much of my social media, is Jasmine Punter from Jasmine Punter Photography. Hi there, Jasmine.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well today.
Hi, Amanda.
Welcome to the podcast. Hi, Bex.
So excited to have you on. Hi, Amanda. How are you this morning? Oh, it's afternoon.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Yeah, this morning.
Yeah, that's what we get from having a podcast way across the world. So today we get Jasmine on, and I'm really excited to be able to have her as one of our guests. As you might know from my social media to our British listeners, I have loads of beautiful photos that go up on my social media, and all of them are taken by this fabulous lady, Jasmine Punter.
They are beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
So today we want to find out really how you got into your photography career, Jasmine. It'd be great to also let the listeners know how we met, and to be able to finish off by giving everyone some top tips.
Yeah, so I think I started photographing the local show jumping shows about 8 or 9 years ago. So I was familiar with Bex and all of her wonderful horses, having photographed her at many shows. And then actually, by chance, we met about 5 years ago properly because I'd had a bad riding accident and needed somebody to compete one of my horses. And I'd seen that Bex sort of had catch rides and rode for other people. So I got in contact with her. And I think that's how we properly got chatting, isn't it?
I know, and we've been like really good friends ever since. I feel very blessed to have you as one of my best buddies.
Oh, likewise.
Sorry.
So tell me, Jasmine, how have you expanded your career from, first of all, just taking photos at your local shows, as when I met you, to now, I mean, you have events all across the country, you have a number of people that work with you, and can you tell me a little bit about how many events you can have running at one time, how many people work with you, how you even organise a day?
Yeah, so it started, like I say, with the lower level things, and my first thing I actually photographed was our local pony club camp, and that was while I was still at school, and I hadn't really thought at that point that it would go on to be a career. I didn't think it was possible to, but gradually I've just built up more and more shows and events. A lot of it's been through word of mouth, or somebody will have seen us at one show and then sort of said, "Oh, we run a show. Would you be able to come along?" And yeah, it's been very gradual over about 10 years, but yeah, we've now got a very full diary, and with multiple events over each weekend and through the week as well, which is great, and it's allowed it to grow that way. And yeah, like you say, we've got several freelance photographers on the books who can attend events on behalf of me, and are completely self-sufficient and can upload them and just get on with it, which is great. And that's allowed the business to grow as it has done in the last few years.
That's amazing. Jasmine, did you study, or have you done any courses with your photography, or has this been something that you were just really passionate about and taught yourself?
Yeah, most of it's been self-taught. I started photographing the horses while I was at school, and I then did an A-level in photography. Mm-hmm. I don't know do you have A-levels is it A-levels in Australia?
Well, sort of same, but different. Yeah, up to year 12, like that's the last school.
Yeah. So year 12 and 13, I did photography. But actually, it was interesting because I didn't really enjoy it that much at school. It was just so different to what I'd already been doing with the horses. It was very much like taking photos of fruit and things, which I had no interest in.
And I think that's what makes you such a good photographer, is that you ride horses, you compete yourself, you're very aware of what looks good on a photo and from an event. And I know many of customers of yours have always said that, you know, they'll go and they'll find 10, 12 photos that you've taken. There won't just be one, there'll be many photos. When you get to an event, can you give us an example for like show jumping, obviously, dressage and cross country, of maybe a fence that you'd pick? Or, I mean, do you just go in the ring and just go, I like the colour of that fence? Or can you run me through what your thought processes are for a day at an event?
Yeah, definitely. Lighting plays like a huge part in it. We're lucky with some of the indoor arenas around us. You can basically just shoot in any direction, which is great. But when it's outdoors, sunlight definitely plays a big factor. So I'd walk the course when it's set, and then I'd be conscious of where the sun is and trying to like look at what jumps I can get with the sun behind me. I always prioritise the oxes, and I normally get around 6 or 7 fences per round, and in my head when I'm walking the course I'm thinking where I can stand to be out of the way and to get the jump at a good angle and to make the horse look the best at each jump.
Have you ever been run over?
That's a question I wouldn't have asked. That's a good one, Amanda.
There have been a couple of near misses. It's funny actually, the times where I have nearly been run over, it's normally because the rider's gone wrong. Yeah. So generally the person who knows the course the best is the photographer.
So if you run over the photographer, it's a very good indication that you've gone the wrong way.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, this wasn't the course I was meant to be taking. Whoops. Took the photographer out.
I've been stood in front of the fence before because they're not meant to be jumping it, and they're coming to it saying move, and I'm thinking no, I'm in the right. You're not meant to be jumping this one. So yeah, if they're in front of the fence, normally they're going wrong.
Are there any jumps on the course that you'll go, I would never photograph that jump, it's just not going to photograph well? Like, we've already spoken about lighting, but there must be jumps that horses jump better than others. So like I say, generally I would just try and get the oxers because they jump them so nicely. The first jump's also a good one because they're freshly warmed up, they're in a really nice canter, and they generally give it a really good jump and make a nice shape over the first fence. But ones that I wouldn't do would probably be like an upright coming out of a double. They often are a bit flat by that point, so they wouldn't jump it as well.
Sometimes we don't want to remember that moment either.
And what about cross country? Are there some cross country fences that you prefer to take pictures of?
Yeah, so generally when we photograph the eventing, we have 3 photographers out on the course. So I try and again I walk the course beforehand or drive around it a couple of times, and I'd make a list of all the possible options that would make good photos. And normally there would be like 1 or 2 sort of standout fences that are obviously the biggest ones on the course. So we definitely try and factor those in. And again, you're looking at, you know, what's in the background, if you can get the shot safely without being a distraction or in the way. And again, lighting. So there's lots of things to think about. But yeah, with 3 out on the course, generally you can get 3 sort of different fences. They're all quite nice in their own way. But yeah, water's always a good fun one, especially if they're jumping in and making a bit of a splash.
Hopefully not with their backsides.
Yeah.
No.
Riders' backsides.
I've sold many full photos over the years.
I was going to say, I actually did photography in year 12 at school, my last couple of years at school. Clearly, it didn't become a career for me, but I do remember having to develop all of the film and all of the prints myself and learn about all of these different styles. So these days I know so much editing can be done to touch stuff up. So is there a lot of work that you have to do post-production from when you're standing in the ring taking the shot to when you produce it for either, you know, to sell to a client or say to sell for a publication? Do you have to touch them up a lot on a regular basis?
Yeah, it's a good question. So for my event photos, I normally upload them at the event, so they go onto the website just as they're taken. So we try and get them as good as possible in camera. And I don't know if that's sort of different to how it works in Australia, but and then from the website, people can buy them and download them themselves, so instantly, so they can have their photos on their phones within like an hour of competing, and then sort of edit them themselves. But I do also offer like an edited version. So from there, I then edit them and email them to the customer. And obviously the prints, I edit them sort of as needed before sending them out. But yeah, the instant options become quite popular in the last couple of years.
I don't think we have the instant option.
Oh, really? Oh, that's quite interesting.
Australia's got some catching up to do on the photography front.
I usually contact. I've got a couple of friends who are photographers, and they'll publish the photos on their Instagram or usually on their Facebook, and then you can scroll through and have a look, and then contact them for the copy. And a lot of them will say these haven't been touched up yet, but if you like to purchase a copy, it'll be touched up for you. So most of the time the way we do it is they've either got a website that they link it to straight away, and then no, I don't think I've ever edited my own photo. Wow, that could be a new thing.
Yeah, I think it's when I first started offering them, it took a bit of sort of persuading myself that that was a good way to go, because I think the sort of perfectionist within you wants them to look perfect when people want them, but yeah, I think in this sort of fast world, people are just wanting something as soon as possible now.
Right.
So just got to let them go.
Yeah. Even if you're like gritting your teeth a little bit, thinking, well, it's not perfect, but they want it right now for social media, so it's going.
Yeah, definitely for publications and things, I'd edit them beforehand. But yeah, we offer like low res instant versions, so people can just have something immediately to put on their social media.
And Jasmine, so does clothing matter? And so, should we practice poses, and how should you present a horse? If I'm going to call you to come and do a photo shoot like the beautiful ones that you've done for Bex, what would the recommendations be to take the best possible shots? So say we're doing an in-hand photo like Bex has done. What recommendations would you give me before you turn up?
So we normally have a chat beforehand and plan outfits, and I always say just bring like as much along as possible. We can just go through them and match outfits with different backgrounds. And
Jasmine's a great stylist, it turns out.
Oh, that's good, because most of the time we ride horses and we don't style.
Yeah, I'll bring a whole wardrobe and she's like, oh no, you have to wear that for that. You can't possibly wear that. I'm like, oh, I thought that was really pretty. Okay.
Yeah.
we have such a laugh though, such a laugh.
Me too. But also like sometimes just grabbing things and bringing them, not even thinking too much about it, is quite a good idea, because I think in one of our last shoots, Bex you brought along a dress that you'd bought on holiday, didn't you?
Oh, like 10 years ago in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like a little piece of... I thought it was like a curtain. No, the thing is, I had been to Thailand, had been to Vietnam. It was 10 years old. It had been to Australia. It was like, I think it cost me the equivalent of like £2.50 in Vietnam. And it just happened. I was like, oh, I'll just bring that. And Jasmine was like, this is going to work beautifully. I was like, really? And it did. It did. Yeah, so it can surprise you.
It was blue and white, wasn't it? And it looked so lovely with your dapple grey. It just looks stunning. So yeah, sometimes it's for the sort of pretty photos, it's the outfits that you wouldn't even necessarily wear day to day anywhere, let alone to the yard, that actually make really nice photos.
Don't you turn up in a dress to the yard most of the time, Bex?
No, oh yeah, that's my daily attire.
Same here, all the time.
Fairfax and Favour heels and a little skinny dress. The other thing is, people that don't know me, I suppose, that may see some of these photographs that Jasmine's taken, probably think, oh, I probably look quite glamorous, but I probably only wear them once every 2 years or once every year when we're doing these photo shoots, and that's it.
You've got a busy day ahead of you. You've got to capture Bex for the entire year and then reproduce it in her social media. You're only going to get her for one day in all of the dresses.
That's it.
Well, that's the thing about doing so many outfit changes. You've got enough content to spread across the whole year, and it looks like you get glammed up all the time.
Yeah. You also do a lot of branding shoots, don't you? And companies will send you clothes to be for you to shoot on horse riders and on horses. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that's a small part of your company, which is quite interesting, I think.
Yeah, so I work with a few different brands who they basically want content of their products for using on social media and things. And I think where it differs from the sort of stereotypical product photographers is that I have the access to riders and yards and horses like yourself, and you very kindly offer yourself to model them, which is great. And yeah, it just means that these products, whether it's riding clothes or like horse equipment, grooming products, they can be photographed as they would be used in a yard, and then so then the brands can use them on their social media, and people can see how they look in use and how they're worn, and it's great for sales for the brands as well.
I mean, I'd like to think that these photo shoot days are really easy, that you just turn up with some stuff and we just photo it. But actually, the amount of preparation that goes into, which I don't think people realise, with the, making sure the yard's immaculate, the horses are bathed.
Yeah.
I've had a decent shower.
Get a bath.
Yeah. There's so much preparation that goes into it. I mean, there was one particular shoot, Jasmine, I remember with you. It was in the winter, and we had all this fabulous clothes to like equestrian clothing to be able to get photos of. And but one of the pieces was like a t-shirt, and it was like -1, wasn't it? -1.
Yeah.
And I had like a summer outfit I had to wear, and we didn't have a tack room with heating. We were in the freezing. It was literally ice in the buckets, and I had to put on these clothes and go out and pretend I was warm, trotting around an arena.
Oh, Bex, it's like a bikini shoot in the winter.
Yeah. Oh, I felt like one of those proper glamorous models right at that moment.
Yeah.
This is a pinnacle of my career.
A few catalogue shoots for sponsors in the past, and because I'm like only 5'3", the majority of clothes are always too big for me. And the amount of bull clips that I have had pinning the clothes at the back, and when you get a bull clip on the skin, I can tell you right now, I have never squawked so loud in my life. It is the worst pinch ever. So very true, the clever photographer can make all these clothes look like they fit, whereas realistically, if you turn around, you kind of look like a hedgehog made of bull clips. So, Jasmine, so what about your equipment? So we always talk about how much equipment horse riders carry around. How many cameras do you have, and are they all different? Do you have like one for long shots, one for close-up shots? Like, do you just lug around tons of gear all day?
Well, I've got one sort of main camera body that I use for 99% of what I do, and then I've got two back ones.
Middle with the buttons on it?
Yeah. So you've got the body, which you connect all the different lenses to. So most photographers would use the same body for most of what they do because they're just so familiar with it. And then would have one with them, which is like a backup camera. So it might be before they upgraded to the one they use mostly now, if that makes sense.
So it's like having the jump saddle, the latest jump saddle, and then you might have your previous pre-loved jump saddle that but you didn't want to get rid of it just in case something happened. So you've got to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then and then I have several different lenses, but again, would probably use the same one for most of the equestrian stuff I do, which it covers a good range, and then it also has a low aperture, which means that you can get the nice depth of field and you can use it indoors. So it's quite a good multi-purpose sort of high spec lens. And then I have a few others for different scenarios. So like for example, a cross country jump where you need to get quite close to the fence, and then you want to show like the wide angle, if that makes sense. So you'd use the wide angle one, or you might use like a big zoom lens if you need to get a jump that's quite far away on a cross country course.
You're loaded up. You've got a backpack full of stuff. It sounds like you're lugging around 10 kilos.
It's normally just all in the car. I'll just carry one around. But yeah, you do collect. You do end up collecting it all over the years, and then you might need this for that shot or something for another one.
And do you have a favourite breed of horse? Is there a particular breed or type that you think always photographs really well, or something that you really enjoy, some style breed that you really enjoy photographing?
Yeah, well, I think as a show jumper myself, I probably do tend to enjoy photographing the show jumpers most. And a lot of them in this country, they're like warm blood breeding, and they're quite flashy. So that's
Everyone loves a grey too.
Yes, yeah, a dappled grey especially. Maybe not the white greys. They sometimes get a bit they're a bit tricky to photograph, especially like on a bright sunny day.
Do they reflect? Is it hard to get the right light between them and the background? Is that what happens?
Yeah. So you can end up if you're exposing for a white grey, then everything else might be a bit dark around it. So then you would want to edit that.
So if I was going to buy a horse that I just basically wanted to go around and have photos taken of, what colour would I buy?
Dapple grey.
Okay, right, good to know. I'll go and purchase only dapple greys from now on.
When Jasmine came to my yard, I've got dapple grey, and she was the one. Well, I've also got a beautiful bay, but he's really naughty, Milo, or Pure Pleasure that people might know him as. He's so naughty, he literally bites everything. He's got ADHD as a horse. He's beautiful with 4 white socks, and I always get him platted up and make him look amazing, but he always ends up being at the stable for like one photo, and Jasmine's like, put him away, get the dapple grey out. Just because he's so annoying. But
he is such a monkey, isn't he? He's got such a short attention span.
He does.
Bless him. He'll just be biting you the whole time, like nipping your sleeves and like trying to play.
And like, get your ears forward.
He is beautiful.
And so if we were going to take a really nice photo of our horse, how would you set it up? So what's the best way to get the horse standing? Like, do you have their legs standing in a particular position, and how do you get them to prick their ears?
So we have a couple of tips and tricks for the ears. I normally suggest when we do a photo shoot that you have somebody with you, sort of as an assistant really, or I can bring one, but generally people have like a parent on the yard, or like a helping hand, or a friend to help out with things like ears pricked. So generally like a bag of treats works quite well for horses. But another one that we use, there's an app on the phones which makes horse sounds. And so that's a really good one. And it does different whinnying and things, and the horses just react to it.
I love that app. The first time you played that, like every horse in the yard like had a moment of, oh my god, hi, like pose moment. Yeah. Pose everything.
It was funny though, because I did a stallion shoot for their stud card, and I played one of the horses whinnying, and oh my god, it grew about a hand, and it just like lit up. It was obviously a mare that was whinnying on the sound. It got so excited.
Did you manage to calm them back down after, or was that just the end of the shoot?
Yeah, it wasn't quite what we had planned for it, but it just got a bit restless, and started to get bored of the photos, and then we played those, and it just lit up. But yeah, that's quite a good trick for getting their ears pricked, and just anything really that rustles. I think we can all relate. They've got quite short attention spans, so it's often they get sick of, they get bored of whatever you're doing to get them to prick their ears, and then you need to think of something new and exciting.
Yeah, a new plastic bag, or a new rustle, or a new someone jumping around. We've all seen those little things on Facebook of videos of like horse looking really pretty, and then the person behind them like running around and doing mental things just to get the horse to stand. We've all been there, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. I had one that was like possible, and I think in the end we did use the app, but we tried whips, we tried rustling the bags, and he's really pretty. He'd give you 2 photos with his ears pricked, and after that he just looked at you with disdain. He was just thinking, you guys, you're so embarrassing. It's like, I don't even know who you are, running around, throwing that bag in the air, looking like a complete idiot. He's like, I don't even know you. So, there was a window, but that app was the thing that we found in the end, and that was so funny. It got him for so many shots.
Yeah, it's so good. And I think the other thing with feed buckets and treats and things is the horses often then try and sort of like pull the rider towards the treat, whereas with the Sounds app they just look around and look quite alert, so it's really good for them.
I think I've got one classic photo of me actually trying to walk down holding a horse looking very sophisticated, and it was with Milo, and we must have been treats at the end. There's one photo of me skiing with him, like he's just taken off and I'm in like these really posh boots and a nice hat and I'm just getting skied off with. That's a really classic photo. I love that photo.
And what's next for you, Jasmine? So if you guys have been in lockdown, are you all competing again? Because we're in lockdown at the moment, so we can't do anything. But what are your next bookings? Are you completely flat out?
Yeah, so our last lockdown, but we sort of started coming out of it in end of March, I think it was. And since then, it's just been flat out with the horses and all of the shows. And I think a lot of the venues that we cover, they've tried to squeeze everything that was missed into this summer. So this summer's been chaos, but really good, just really busy. So yeah, at the moment we're sort of towards the end of the summer, and so it's just been full steam ahead. And then we head indoors in October, I think, and then most of our sort of autumn winter shows will then be indoors, but it will quieten down a little bit around then. But at the moment we're in eventing season, and like everything's just full steam ahead at the moment.
It sounds really busy. So if I know in Australia, so at home, there's lots of kids really that get into taking photos and popping them on their Insta, and some of the kids have really started to grow into little businesses. So if there was somebody that was really keen to start up in a photography business and to learn, what would be the best way for them to get into that?
I think definitely if they can get some sort of work experience with a photographer, as well as sort of teaching myself and through sort of, picking things up on the internet and YouTube and things, working with like as a freelancer for another events photographer was where I probably learned most of what I knew and sort of kick-started my business a bit, really. So that's definitely a great way to learn, either as paid work or work shadowing. I've had a few sort of kids who've come along this summer, and they've sat with me on a cross-country course and sort of figured out how it all works. And it's just quite a nice way to learn on the job, really. So yeah, I think experience is the main way to...
Like practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
What other tips can you give for either budding photographers at home or anybody that owns a horse that takes photos of our horses all day, like we all do? What other tips can you give just to capture that perfect moment? With regards to the time of day, the lighting, is there any other tips you can give us?
Yeah, so I think for most of us, even me at the yard, I'd be taking photos on my phone because I don't just lug the camera around all the time. So there is so much you can do on your phones these days. They're just, the technology is amazing. So like with iPhones, you've got portrait mode, which is quite good because you can adjust the depth of field afterwards. It's the F number when you're editing, and you can make it the background blurry.
And
that's the field. Is that what's that? Is that the back depth? Is it the background?
Yeah, so that's when you make the background blurry and the subject sharp.
Okay.
So yeah, in iPhone, if you take the photo in portrait, you can take the photo and then you can adjust that afterwards.
Right.
So yeah, there's so much you can do in the camera, and then in terms of time of day, I really like taking photos in the evening before the sun goes down, or first thing in the morning when the sun's come up. That's when the light's most flattering.
I do find that interesting because lots of people think a beautiful sunny day you're going to get some amazing photographs, but I do remember you saying to me many times, it's going to be too bright, or we're better to do it early or late.
Sometimes you can't avoid shooting in the middle of the day, and generally when we're doing that, I'd probably suggest photographing in the shade or under trees or something, and then the light would be a lot softer and more flattering. So yeah, that would be another tip. And then in terms of editing afterwards, Lightroom, which is what I use on the computer, they've got a phone app, and it's really good for editing, and you can do so much on it, but it's quite simple as well. So that's really good for editing your phone photos as well.
Well, can I think of any other top tips for these budding photographers out there? I mean, we've covered so much today. I'm really excited to be able to share this with all our listeners. Jasmine, thank you so much for coming in and spending this time with myself and Amanda. And I hope our listeners have enjoyed all the incredible information that you've brought across. Do you have anything to add, Amanda or Jasmine?
I just think it's fantastic, particularly that the app, and I really like when you mentioned that using feed gets the horse to come towards the handler, whereas using a noise gets them to stand away. I reckon that's really helpful.
Yeah, and I think there's so much you can sort of find out on YouTube, and there's so many supportive photographers, Facebook groups and things. There's so much you can learn and like discover for yourself these days. So I think, yeah, for people wanting to get involved and to develop their skills, there's definitely lots out there for free that you can learn and develop your skills with.
So did we take away that we should buy a grey horse, use the neighing app, and get the most crazy floral dress that you can that you bought in Vietnam for £2.50, and
and
then sit under a tree,
and the morning sun or the evening sun, and there is your photo. That's the recipe.
Yeah.
And then you've absolutely nailed it.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, this has been so much fun. Just absolutely so much fun. And I'm sure loads of people have taken away so much information, and you've inspired so many budding photographers out there to go out there and take even more photos of our horses, as you say, or just with the app and with plastic bags flying around. But on that note, I'm going to close it all down and look forward to seeing you out there on the course, Jasmine, you taking more pretty pictures of all my horses.
Oh, no, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for all your time spent with us today. It's been so fun. So this has been the Equestrian Experience with myself, Bex Mason, and my co-host, Amanda Ross. And this episode's guest, Jasmine Punter from Jasmine Punter Photography. To send in your questions for up-and-coming episodes, enter our competitions, and access other episodes, be sure to visit the Equestrian Experience. You can also follow us on Amanda Ross Equestrian and Bex Mason SJ. Until next time, have a great equestrian experience!